Camp is camp. It's tough, but it's for me to want to push myself. This is what I do, this is what I live for. I'm ready for battle. I feel like I'm getting stronger, and I feel by the time the fight comes, I'll be at peak performance.
One more. One more. Beautiful. Good. That's what we've got to bring him on to. Nobody can take them.
It's unbelievable how far and how wide sports can take you and the things that you get access to.
Anthony Joshua has officially begun his first day of training camp for his upcoming fight with Jake Paul, now targeted for December 19th. With the fight confirmed, Joshua isn't wasting a single moment. He has stepped into camp with sharp focus, dedication, and the confidence of a former heavyweight champion. Jake Paul, despite rising from YouTube fame in a controversial way, has proved he knows how to attract massive attention. But this time, he is stepping towards
the second leg of the training camp. I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling refreshed. So yeah, come inside, have a look what's going on. Tough training, tough lifestyle, rough and tough. But listen, how else would I want it? I love it. So what am I bringing differently? I wouldn't say a new mindset, but definitely like a new perspective. But ultimately, everything new has to lead to a win. So yeah, that's what I'm focused on right now, just winning. With training camp, it's grueling, like there's no doubt about that, but you just need to have a clear mind and be optimistic and run towards challenges every day. And that's how I'm able to get through, is just the perspective I have on what suffering looks like. There's a certain standard that one has to have if they want to achieve certain things. I am working past efforts, measures that I set out for myself. Yes, it's tough. Yes, I'm tired.
Reporter, Mike claimed the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight is finalized for December 2025 in Miami. Set to stream on Netflix as a professional heavyweight bout.
Earlier that Anthony Joshua still didn't have an opponent for his next fight, but he was thinking of still fighting before the end of the year. And we've got some breaking news for you now, because we're hearing that AJ is in talks with Jake Paul over a deal for a heavyweight fight in Miami next month. Of course, the YouTuber Paul has already fought the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson, and beaten him. And he's now in talks with Anthony Joshua with a view to the two of them fighting in Miami next.
Eddie Hearn pushed back on those reports. He confirmed the fight discussions, but clarified that the bout will be under official Queensberry rules, not an exhibition. He ruled out changes such as bigger gloves or shorter rounds, confirming they will use standard 10-ounce gloves.
Ring Magazine, Anthony Joshua, your man, and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a December heavyweight fight in Florida. True or false?
I mean, the gun was jumped a little bit and fired early. There have been conversations. For us, we were flirting with the idea of having this little 8-round fight this year. Not with Jake Paul, by the way, because he was fighting Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, that's not.
But we were going to go on a other card somewhere. You wouldn't have really heard of the person we were going to fight. But AJ wanted to go through the motions, wrap the hands, and just gear up to what is really in the works with Turki Al-Sheikh, which is 2 fights in 2026, and that includes Tyson Fury. That's the plan for Turki Al-Sheikh. We received a phone call from Nikisa Baldirian, from MVP, who, by the way, we've spoke to a few months before talking to us about the fight. And he said, look, would you want to fight Jake Paul? And I said, listen, I don't want to just be a publicity muppet for you, you know, telling everybody that you offered the fight to Anthony Joshua. If you're serious, we can discuss the numbers. And if there's a chance for us to run out in December and, you know, take care of this bloke and get him out of the boxing world and make several tens of millions in the process, of course, we will consider it. And that's basically where we are at now.
And do the numbers stack up?
Of course, I mean, like, you know, it's difficult to have this conversation. I think sometimes
Hearn told Sky Sports they are not interested in exhibitions at all. If Jake Paul wants to fight, it will be a real sanctioned match at a contracted weight. However, Hearn warned the deal is not officially completed yet. He said the chances
extremely dangerous for Jake Paul. You know, I've got the general feedback is the boxing world saying, please, AJ, go in and evaporate this young man from the boxing world so we can all get on as normal. You've got Jake Paul fans thinking bizarrely they can beat Anthony Joshua. And the most bizarre thing out of everything is that Jake Paul genuinely believes he will beat Anthony Joshua. I think that's the only reason we're going to see this fight, but I truly believe.
Hearn described Jake Paul as bold and perhaps crazy enough to chase this fight, even though Joshua is a genuine heavyweight monster. He admitted the financial reward for both fighters is enormous, but stressed the danger involved. He called the matchup a catastrophic mismatch that could end Paul.
Paul Anthony Joshua 50-50 fight. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I just said in another interview, great if it is. I mean, if it is, then you've got no problem seeing it. But when AJ, I mean, decapitates a strong word, but you know, when he renders Jake Paul unconscious like he did to Francis Ngannou, don't then say, oh well, it was Jake Paul. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when AJ beat Francis Ngannou, Ngannou just had a fight that could have gone either way with Tyson Fury. Then AJ poleaxed him and everyone just said he's just an MMA fighter. Do you know what I mean? Jake Paul's not Francis Ngannou. But as I said before, if you want to see Jake Paul exit the boxing world...
Hearn also acknowledged that Jake Paul's strategy is simple. Call out real boxers.
Yeah, just quickly, I watched Jake Paul at the weekend. I feel a bit dirty saying that because I'm not a fan of his, but he did say after the fight that he's sort of having DMs or he's dropping text messages to AJ. They're having a chat about a potential fight. What's your view on that, Eddie?
Well, look, he's calling out Gervonta Davis, who is a 135-pound lightweight, and he's calling out Anthony Joshua, that's a heavyweight monster. I think Jake Paul is crazy enough to fight Anthony Joshua because the money would be absolutely obscene. It's a catastrophic mismatch that people would tune in to watch because it would lead to the end of Jake Paul. Hopefully not literally, but it's that dangerous that, you know, it's a fight that I don't think should really happen, if I'm honest. I would say about Jake Paul, and I've said this in a couple of interviews today, I do think you start after giving him a margin of respect. You know, I think this guy is going through the motions, he's putting the hard spars in. He just went 10 rounds with, yes, a washed-up fighter, but a former world champion that did train for that fight. But they're very clever in terms of the opponents that they pick. They're not going to gamble unless the money's out of control. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jake Paul, wanted to move forward with an Anthony Joshua fight. Honestly, AJ's coming tonight. He's not exactly looking at Jake Paul going, oh, that's my dream opponent. No. Would he go in there and give him a hiding for, you know, a massive chunk of money?
Simon, Jordan has said that although he criticizes the idea, the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight could still benefit boxing. He admits the fight will attract huge global attention, bring in millions of viewers, and create massive financial opportunities. Jordan said boxing is also a business, and combining a former heavyweight champion with one of the world's biggest internet figures guarantees headlines, money, and mainstream interest. While he still questions the sporting value, he agrees the fight will be a commercial success.
This is the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the world heavyweight championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Because I know
many people wouldn't have this.
Well, I'm not having...
Because this isn't a proper fight where a Saturday night is.
But I don't think this is a proper... I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And will I watch it? No. And do I value it? No. But when I'm asked to be confronted with a fight between two legends' sons and then get involved in all of the nonsense...
Jordan also compared it to the Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight, which he said was sold more on nostalgia than sporting merit. He argued that promoters relied on the legacy of their father's 1990s rivalry instead of the fighters' actual achievements. He said this matchup, like Joshua versus Paul's, a cash grab that risks the sport's integrity. Jordan also questioned whether the fight should even be sanctioned, worrying about Paul's safety and the impact on Joshua's legacy.
The kind of returns that they're going to get for the level that they've operated in their careers. And that's one of my issues around the Conor Benn Eubank fight. This fight over here with Anthony Joshua, I know what this is. No one can dress this up. This is a turd that will get polished into a huge pile of money. And if you know that from the outset, yeah. So I don't have any illusions about it. Neither does anybody else. Nobody thinks that this is a real fight. Nobody thought. I mean, Spencer tried his very level best, and will never try it again, to convince us that Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Well, this is something similar, but
Yeah.
for different reasons. Anthony Joshua is still a live heavyweight, and if he hits Jake Paul's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And some people might think that's a good thing to happen to him, so learn his lesson. But he is also now fighting. He's got a fighter's license. And the question should be along the lines of what Chris Eubank Sr. was raising. Is it right? Is this appropriate that a high-performing supreme athlete like Anthony Joshua, whose only real challenges now are probably in his mind, because physically he can operate at the highest level if he still chose to, should be stepping in against someone like Jake Paul that does not have the skill set to deal with the kind of power and expertise that Anthony Joshua has? And should boxing be sanctioning this? This is the bigger question.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Having said all that, Netflix tell us 60 million households worldwide tuned in live to see Mike Tyson take on Jake Paul. Why would Jake Paul end up fighting?
Boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. added another layer to the debate, offering a more cautious viewpoint. He said the fight must make sense for Joshua both financially and competitively, not just as a spectacle.
Change subjects just a little bit here, and Anthony Joshua, there's rumours circulating he could be fighting Jake Paul next. One, do you think it's good for boxing, and two, do you think the fight will happen?
I think it's great for boxing. I think the fight will happen. AJ is 1-0 against these guys that come in to these boxing careers late. So why not? He's a perfect guy to take him out too. He took Ngannou out. Why would he not take Jake Paul out? And for him, he'd probably make more money fighting Jake Paul than he will fighting anybody else that he can fight right now. So why would he not do it? I mean, not that he needs the money right now anyway, but if he's going to do something, if he want to get a good win to put him back on the scene, that's my preference.
Dave Farrar and Spencer. Oliver discussed the rising buzz surrounding Anthony Joshua potentially fighting Jake Paul. The conversation intensified after Saudi. Boxing chief Turki Al-Sheikh hinted on talks Poart that he would approve the fight. Al-Sheikh said Paul has verbally accepted and added that he wants Joshua to destroy Paul in a one-sided 99-1 type mismatch, calling it a powerful test of legitimacy for both sides.
Does he really want to smoke? I mean, he's got to be an idiot if he does, because Anthony Joshua, let's use this as a comparison. Francis Ngannou called Anthony Joshua out after pushing Tyson Fury the way that he did, and you looked at that and he went in there and he iced him in 2 rounds. Francis Ngannou versus Jake Paul, you got to go heavily on Francis Ngannou, haven't you? So what's going to happen to poor Jake Paul if he boxes Anthony Joshua? This Olympic
Journalist Mike Coppinger has raised serious concerns about the matchup, saying Jake Paul seems motivated more by money than competition. Coppinger reported that negotiations are progressing but still require broadcast deals and official sanctioning. He highlighted that Joshua is far bigger, stronger, and more experienced than anyone Paul has fought, making the fight extremely dangerous. He said commercial interest may push the fight forward, but it sparks major questions about Paul's safety and the event's legitimacy.
Breaking story on Ring Magazine, Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are finalising a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell the Ring Magazine's Mike Coppinger. What do you make of that?
Well, Anthony Joshua is talking about wanting warm-up fights before going into bigger fights, but look, it's prize fighting at the end of the day, and the way that Joshua will see it, and Matchroom and all the team, the fans won't like this, by the way.
I don't like it
No,
either.
I don't like it either. But the way that Joshua will see it is as a money grab. He'll see it as an easy money grab, but at this stage of his career, is it a fight he should be taking? Nah, definitely not.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be licensed.
Meanwhile, Jake Paul's promoter Nakisa Bidarian responded to size difference concerns, saying, size-wise, we can handle it, said Paul weighs around 210 to 215 pounds, while Joshua is closer to 252. But argued Paul's strength and rapid improvement make the fight possible. He pointed to Paul's experience with heavyweights like Mike Tyson and said his quick development gives him confidence. Still, across the sport, many professionals worry about the fight's safety, credibility, competitive value.
And 2 of his losses are against Alexander Usyk. Usyk weighed in at 220 pounds for those fights. Jake is not Usyk, a lot more years of experience needed to get to that level, but Jake walks around between 208 and 210, and he fought Mike Tyson at 228 pounds. So I think size-wise, we can get comfortable with it, and I think experience-wise, Jake is learning very fast and growing, and And Joshua is a little long in the tooth, so it could be a very interesting matchup, and we're actively discussing it with Matchroom.
Don't put it past Jake Paul. Anthony Joshua, as much as he's a monster, he's got a weak mind, hasn't he? So Jake could end up getting into it because Jake's got everyone eating out the palm of his hand. He's a very clever man. So
you really think he's got a chance?
Why wouldn't he have a chance? Look how confident he is. I mean, come on. Like, Anthony would have all the pressure in the world, and if Anthony didn't do him with the first few punches, he'd start doubting himself in his head, because that's what he does. But no, Anthony should win, shouldn't he? But that's...
What do you make of Tyson Fury saying that he's going to put $1 million bet on Jake winning by knockout?
Tyson to leg it, lad. He's retired about 50 times. What's he on about, mate? Just tell him to leg it, and I'd love him. If he walked in here, I'd obviously...
At one point, you were good friends.
I'm still good friends, but obviously if he walked in here, I'd act like I'm not talking about him, but then on the camera I'm talking to him. Is this not what we're on? Fair enough. Is everyone not fake, or no? We all... What are we on here? Are we all acting like we don't hate each other? Like, come on. Like, what?
You're on absolute smoke today.
Former world champion George Groves dismissed the idea of Joshua fighting Jake Paul entirely. He said Joshua deserves meaningful fights against true contenders, not crossover spectacles. Groves called the match La Risk and Laura Ward for Joshua, and said he should wait for a mega fight with Tyson. Fury, the only fight that truly matters for his legacy.
Still trying to convince people that he's a legitimate boxer. He's not a legitimate boxer. You've picked someone who was a professional boxer, whose dad was a legend of professional boxing. You might as well pick...
Potential fight between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul highlights boxing's biggest modern struggle, the battle between pure sporting competition and commercial entertainment. For Joshua, it's a chance for a massive payday and a return to global prominence. For Jake Paul, it's the biggest gamble of his career, a chance to prove he can stand with real elites, or expose the limits of his fame-built boxing journey.
Jake Paul, you've lost your mind if you think you can go toe-to-toe with Anthony Joshua. Listen, let's not get confused, guys. Let's not get confused. Yes, cool. Anthony, he took a big L with Daniel Dubois, but Daniel Dubois is not no joke, bro. He's not a joke. Do you know what I'm trying to say? He took a L there, but Jake Paul, I got the utmost respect of what he's done, how he's managed to navigate through the boxing world. Like, bro, it's so mad. And I can see this is like a 90%. It's happening, it's positioning, it's marketing already. Like, why would you see Jake Paul go face-to-face with Alexander Usyk if it's not to position for a fight for Saudi? Obviously, Jake Paul's going to fight Anthony Joshua. There's possibly going to be a Usyk against Tyson Fury 3, because obviously the last two were so close. But you never know. It can also be a Usyk against Derek Chisora